Guys, this is Jeremy here on Metal Music Meltdown, back with another video. What we have for today, guys, is part 3 of my, part 3, I just want to make sure. Part 3 of my 20 essential metal albums that every metalhead should have. And if you haven't checked out my other videos, please check them out in the playlist. And I've been enjoying doing this series, coming up with albums that I believe are just iconic and classics that everyone should have. This list on the third one is a little bit different. There's some iconic old school albums that are just classic and everyone should have. It's kind of similar to the other two lists. But there's a couple albums on this list that are just more personal picks, that are much newer albums that I think are just so incredible that every metalhead should own them or at least check it out. And so there's a couple of those mixed in here. And there's a couple more picks on this list that aren't necessarily known as all-time classics to everybody, but for me, I did think they're albums that every metalhead should have. So let's jump right in, guys. The first one we got here, finally representing some black metal, the debut Mayhem record. I'm not really into black metal, to be honest, but there's a couple bands I really enjoy. And there's no denying that the debut Mayhem record is essential and just kind of where it all began with the Norwegian black metal scene. And crazy story to the band, of course, but their music is iconic and the album is just a masterpiece. The next one we got here is Slaughter of the Soul by At the Gates. If you're like that early Gothenburg's melodic death metal sound, you'll definitely need this album. It's definitely one of the most iconic ones from the scene, and one that instantly came to my mind regarding that overall scene, and a must-have. Next one we got here is a debut album from Angel Witch. Probably my favorite new wave of British heavy metal album that's not Iron Maiden. They never really got big. They only put out like 4 albums, I think, in total in the whole career. So they didn't really put a lot of material out. But the debut is so fucking good, guys. If you're not familiar with this album, please check it out. You'll love it. And in my opinion, an essential must-have. Next, we got a much newer album, one of the ones I was kind of mentioning from 2017. I have Power Trip with Nightmare Logic, their second album. This is a top 10 album of all time for me, even though it's from 2017. This album just fucking rips. It's just like a perfect crossover thrash metal album with a little bit of punk influence, and it's just a masterpiece. It's top to bottom a perfect album. One of my favorite albums to listen to. I listen to it every week, and I never get sick of it. Rest in peace, Riley. Unfortunately, lost the lead singer, and the band, in my opinion, will never be the same without him. But yeah, they put out 2 great albums, and the second one is just iconic and ridiculously good. Everyone should have this album in their collection. Next one we got here is the debut album from Death Angel, The Ultraviolence. Take in mind these guys were like 16 or 15 or 16, 17 when they made this album. Really killer thrash album, really raw, kind of jammy in parts, but just a really good thrash album. I think it's an essential one to own. Death Angel doesn't give enough love. They should have been a lot bigger than they are. And I just wanted to put them on the list. And I think their debut is just a must-have. Next we got Hard Work by Carcass. Probably my favorite Carcass album. I really like Surgical Steel as well. But in terms of an essential album, I think this is the one most people would think of. Hard Work is just a classic. It's their kind of album when they got away from the grindcore sound and went more with the melodic death metal sound, which is what I like. And it's a really good album, top to bottom, really strong songs. And I love the sound on this album, really good stuff. Good, essential for sure. Next we got maybe more of a personal pick. Some guys may not be into this band. But I went with Amon Amarth and their album, Twilight of the Thunder God. It's always been my favorite Amon Amarth album, the most memorable. The most recent work is kind of repetitive and getting kind of samey. But Twilight of the Thunder God is just a fucking amazing album. Hearing the title track live is just ridiculous. And I always love these guys, have a cool sound. Just some good straight up melodic death metal, Viking themed. Just really fun and aggressive and heavy. And I always love this album, really, really good tunes. Next we got another new wave of British heavy metal, Saxon. Another band in my opinion is super underrated. I went with their classic album Denim and Leather, which I think most people would consider their classic, or one of them. And it's just an all-time must-have. There's a bunch of their albums, honestly, that most people should have, but I went with Denim and Leather. I think it's just the most iconic and has a lot of their really good tunes. Next we got here is Possessed. Arguably the first death metal album. My money's still on Scream Bloody Gore, but this is definitely an essential album. It's kind of the first album that had the talks of death metal. It was kind of more of just a super aggressive thrash metal album, but just relentless, and Gene Hoglan's drumming is ridiculous, and just a masterpiece of an album that everyone should have. Another one that I've been trying to get to my collection. I haven't been able to get a copy of it for a decent price, so I'm still on the hunt for this one as well. Next we got Venom with black metal. Had to put some Venom on here, essential band for sure. Black metal's always been my favorite from them, with tracks like the title track, To Hell and Back, Teacher's Pet, Sacrifice, Countess Bathory. Just incredible album, easily essential. It's sold a ton of records. It's probably the most popular album, and it's been remastered and reissued a million times. But there is other albums in their discography that I would argue could be considered essential as well, like Welcome to Hell or At War with Satan. The first three albums I would really consider essential, but I went with black metal just because it's my personal favorite. Next we got here another black metal album released in '99, Immortal with The Heart of Winter. Immortal's another band I really enjoy. I like their sound, and At the Heart with Winter, their fifth album, has always been my favorite. It's got that really kind of cool, dark, like walking in the winter kind of atmosphere. I just always love the sound of this album, and it's one of the black metal albums I just really enjoy, and I just consider it as essential. And the next one here is another kind of black metal album, the debut from Emperor, entitled In the Night Side Eclipse. Easily my favorite album from these guys. Again, it's good symphonic black metal, kind of a different sound, but I really love these guys' sound. They've always been one of my favorite black metal bands as far as black metal goes, because I'm not, like I said, it's not really my thing generally. But I love the older school stuff, and I love Emperor's sound, really good stuff. Next we got another Candlemass album, their debut, Epicus Doomicus Metallicus. I had Nightfall on my last list, but I wanted to include the debut as well, just because it's such an iconic album and a must-have. Just really good vocals and really good songwriting, doomy as hell, great guitar work, and just really good. The only one album with the one singer on it before he left. He went for the second album, but really essential still. Next, I had to put my boys from Brazil, Sepultura. I went with Beneath the Remains. It was either this or Arise, but I think Beneath the Remains is just the most essential from their catalog. And it's just a really balls out thrash metal, kind of almost death metal in ways, but really good heavy thrash metal album. Easily my favorite from the band, and really good. Next we got Abigail by King Diamond. Really good early concept record from King. Screaming falsetto vocals, King style. I'm more of a Merciful Fate guy over his solo career, to be honest, but Abigail is just an all-time classic album, and one I think is essential for everyone to have, and it's always been seen as just a classic album in the metal world. The next one we got here is more of a personal pick again. Some people might not even have heard of these guys, but the band is Chemist, and their album Hunted. They only have 4 albums, I think, out total. This by far is their best, in my opinion. Just a really good modern doom metal band. Behind Candlemass, they're probably my second favorite doom metal band of all time, which is saying a lot considering how new they are. But yeah, if you haven't heard these guys, check out this album Hunted. It'll blow your mind, and in my opinion, it's an essential album that everyone needs to have in their collection. It's just a masterpiece. Next, I have Children of Bodom with Hatebreeder. Children of Bodom gets a lot of flack sometimes. A lot of people say they're not that great or poser or whatever. I don't know why, but I love their sound. I was heavy into them in the early 2000s. There's a couple albums I could have picked from them, but their second album, Hatebreeder, is just a classic. Really heavy, really good guitar work. Alexi's guitar work is super underrated, in my opinion. Perfect band with the keyboards. One of the few bands that really have a heavy, aggressive sound, but mix keyboards with it perfectly. And in my opinion, this is essential, and everyone needs Children of Bodom in their collection. Really good band. Next, we have more of a personal pick again. It's the band Catatonia. They're pretty well known, like they're a popular band, but to the more casual metal listener, they might not have heard of them. I went with the album Great Cold Distances, but there's a bunch of their albums that are really good. Just a really good depressive, heavy metal band, alternative rock, doom metal mixed in, shoegazer kind of stuff. And I went to Cold Great Distance because it has some songs that are just very rememberable. And if you're not familiar with these guys, definitely check them out. This is a good place to start. And in my opinion, another band that everyone should have in their collection. Next we got another band that's just more of a personal favorite band of mine, Amorphous. I went with the Tales from a Thousand Lakes. Love this band. Their new stuff's they get better and better over time. But I do really love their second album. It's more on the straight death metal side, not quite as much melodic mixed in like the newer stuff. But all their albums are great. Everyone needs to hear Amorphous and have them in their collection for sure. And the last one we got here is definitely an all-time classic, Among the Living, Anthrax. Not really a hard choice on this one. It's a really well-known album and a classic in the thrash community, and definitely had to make the list. I'm not a big Anthrax guy, but I do really like their first three albums a lot. And then after that, they kind of fell off for me. And the last couple albums have been pretty good as well, but the first three are the best by far, in my opinion. So thanks again for watching, guys. Let me know if I should do a part 4. And let me know some other picks of yours down below that maybe we haven't mentioned before. And thanks for watching, guys. Keep it metal.